Hi everyone, this is Carl. I go by Yogo Dunzo on the Discord, and I'm joined by Jeremy, goes by HuntSector27.
Hello.
This is actually take two of this attempt, because we got 5 cards in and I had audio muted. So the first couple cards are going to be real quick, because it turns out we didn't have much to say about them anyway. Um, First card is Blatant Swindler at a Crab. It's a 1 Fate, 1/1 with 1 Glory. Courtier Merchant. Seeker role only, and action during a conflict in which this character is participating. Give your opponent 1 honor. That player chooses a participating character they control. Move that character home. I like this card because it's a low cost character that doesn't build on Crab's economy. It makes winning conflicts easier, and it can be done on attack or defense.
And it helps with getting unopposed, which matters for the next 2 cards.
Yes. If Crab wants to build an unopposed conflict deck, this card is definitely going to be part of it, as will Shadowlands Hunter from last cycle, I think he was.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Next card is Third Whisker Sneak. It is a 2 Fate cost, 2/1/0 Glory, creature Nezumi Scout. It is immune to Shadowlands and Maho card effects, which currently means very little. You just can't Spreading the Darkness it. And it has the reaction: after this character wins an unopposed conflict, search the top X cards of your conflict deck for a card and add it to your hand. X is equal to a number of unbroken provinces you control. Shuffle. I like the card effect. I think it's a strong card effect. I think that the unopposed portion is what is keeping it in check.
Yep.
And by in check, I mean in the binder.
Agreed. It has like no relevant traits. And then, yeah, making an unopposed conflict is kind of hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, this would be better if it was a conflict character, obviously.
Oh god, yeah. No, if this was a conflict
character.
Dynasty,
it's
yeah, because you can see it coming. So
yeah, absolutely.
But Crab does run, pardon me, a bunch of removal. Ignore the desktop thing from Steam. They do run Assassinate. They run Way of the Crab. They can run Blatant Swindler. I suppose they could run Way of the Open Hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to go all in on it.
If you want this to be a thing, you can make this a thing. I just don't know if it's a good thing.
I don't know if it's a playable thing.
Yeah. I might throw that deck together later today and find out.
It's kind of tempting, yeah.
Yeah. Next card, Return from Shadows, is a 0-cost Crab event. Reaction: after you win a conflict unopposed, choose a province the defending player controls, put a Dishonored status token on it, and reveal it, if able. While a province has a Dishonored status token, treat its printed text box as if it were blank, except for traits. Max 1 per conflict, and it has 3 influence.
3 influence. Yeah, I mean, this thing's not really going to get splashed anywhere.
No, it doesn't do enough for 3 influence. What we mentioned earlier that we'll try and be more succinct on is... God damn it, go away, Steam. No, making things worse. Is that this feels like a dangerous design space to play around with. Because right now there's only, we said, 3 clans that can interact with a status token on a province. That being Dragon, if they want to run Kitsuki Yaruma and the Goose card. Because when you flip it face down, the token falls off, which also works with Public Forum, if that matters. Unicorn with, you said it was Untamed Steps?
Untamed Steps and Sadia.
Yeah. That'll turn it face down, which kind of sort of works with it. And Lion, they have Meticulous Scout, where after they win a military conflict, they can pick a Dishonored token and move it to a character. All the province blanking we've seen has basically wound up being restricted, except for Desolation, because that has a cost associated with it. but both Pathfinder's Blade and Scenery 2 are on the RL because those effects are so strong.
Yeah.
I think this card's fine because winning a conflict unopposed is it's not a nothing cost. But I think blanking provinces in a repeatable fashion or in a less gated fashion without a means to interact with that token is going to be bad for a game.
Yeah, and I will say in terms of like other cards, if it becomes easier for them to do unopposed stuff, paying 0 fate for this thing, versus Scenery costing 2, or there's no fate, there's no honor being exchanged here. Like,
yeah, I mean,
if it becomes reliable, then it becomes a problem.
Clearly, the gate on this is winning a conflict unopposed.
Right.
Scenery is not gated in the least because she has a 2 fate cost, and so she's vulnerable to assassinate to an extent.
Sure. And you see it coming because it's coming out of the Dynasty, where this is the conflict.
Yeah.
Coming out of nowhere.
But either way, I think like this effect is even fine, the Dishonored status token, as long as there's a way to meaningfully interact with it. And three clans being able to do it with non-splashable means, I don't think is meaningful enough for this to be a design space to be putting a bunch of stuff into.
Right.
The next card is basically hot trash.
Yeah.
Is a summation of what we came up with.
we said that like there are inherent things in this pack that are synergy in the same pack, like Swindler helping you be unopposed with 2 cards that come after it and do unopposed. Like this pack also has Suma in it, which like playing Augur on Suma makes it a 3/3, and then you're making sure the stuff on Suma is stuff that you want there by cycling it out yourself. Like, but at the same time, it's not going to see play.
Yeah. For completion's sake, 2 fate cost 0/0 with 3 glory. It's Asahina Augur. Shugenja Air. You may look at face down cards in your provinces and choose a card in your provinces, discard that card, limit 3 times per round. That's it.
That's it.
I can't even think of a good jank reason to run this card. So moving on to a card that's seeing a bunch of play, and has, when it was first previewed, was kind of panned, but now is the new hotness. The Wealth of the Crane. It's a 5-cost event. Reduce the cost to play this card by 1 for each face-up province you control. Look at the top 10 cards of your Dynasty deck, put 1 of those cards into each of your non-stronghold provinces face up, shuffle, max 1 per phase. Yeah, this card is like super played now because of Doji Diplomat.
Mm-hmm. There were bits and pieces throughout the cycle that made this seem more and more feasible, but Pack 6 is really what solidified.
Yeah. No, it's like I mentioned in the section that no one will ever hear. I like this card out of Scorpion for stupid Scorpion tricks because they could start the game with 3 face-up provinces. But you'd have to run Toshi Rambo's City of the Rich Frog and Silent One's Monastery, which came out later in this pack. And that's probably not a great row. But you could
probably not.
You that reduces the cost of this down to 2, which ostensibly you could earn back off of Toshi Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's enough, probably isn't. But Crane is running this now because it finds tea houses, it finds Kakita dojos, finds favorable rounds.
Yeah.
I don't think they're primarily using it to find characters unless they're in a real pinch.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a solid card. And the good thing, amazingly, it's a solid card that doesn't feel busted.
Yeah, I think it's appropriately has influence. I think its cost is good. Like, yeah, it's as fair as a card like this can be. I mean, looking through a fourth of your deck,
Yeah,
pretty strong. But
yep, good card.
yeah,
The next card is another card that I think was panned initially, um, but is suddenly not again because of Doji Diplomat. Suma. It
mm,
is Crane's eminent province. It is 3 province strength. It has the city trait. It is air and fire rolls, or not rolls, elements. And each character played from this province enters play honored. Uh,
yeah.
oh,
You
go on.
know, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you first.
Yeah, I think you're right in that at first, this kind of pan of like it's an obvious target. It has 3 province strength. Of course, this is going to be the first thing attack. It can't, it's got fire and air, which are kind of relevant um, roles, and then at the same time are elements, and then yeah, I guess
So people were saying like this province didn't do anything to defend itself, and that
right.
most provinces have something on there that make them easier to defend. Except Crane has a lot of high glory people,
Hmm.
and so like I always felt indirectly it did something to help defend itself by giving you a bigger body for the same price. Uh,
Yeah, and then wealth obviously enables that.
yeah, I mean, once like, and again, like this card really exploded with Doji Diplomat because my understanding is most Crane players are now running Magistrate Station back in the row
Mm.
because the Stronghold was always going to be the last picked for flipping face up.
Hmm.
And so now, if you flip up a weight of duty or magistrate station or some other toxic province, it it kind of makes it important that you break that toxic province instead of this.
And even then, like stuff like wealth of the crane is letting you put holdings there that add to the province strength.
Yes.
So you're able to inherently make it a little bit better while still getting the effect of the holding. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean
No. This
it's not
is
as much of a downside.
no like this is a strong ability, and I swear to Christ, I'm gonna kill Steam. Um. So yeah, no, this is definitely a solid card. I think if you want to look at packs to buy for clans, I think this is definitely a strong one for Crane to pick up.
Oh, for sure.
Um, on to the downers of the pack. We move into
Hmm.
the Dragon Clan. They once again continue to get weird cards that don't do much of anything. So, first one is Kitsuki Kiari. She is a 2 fate cost, 1 military, 2 political, 1 glory courtier, no poison attachments, and has a reaction after a character you control is revealed. Choose an opponent and name a card. Reveal 4 random cards in that opponent's hand and discard each copy of the named card revealed this way. So, when a province you control is revealed, so ostensibly you can only do that 5 times in a game, you pick a card. You pick 4 random cards from your opponent's hand and discard each copy of the named card revealed this way.
It's
So,
it's just not good enough. Um,
not
when
remotely.
when card hands are like 20 plus,
Yeah,
looking at 4 random ones,
and hoping to God that one you guessed right.
you found duplicates. Like you found out of those 4, you may have found a duplicate of one of those 4 is also something else. You've discarded 2 instead of 1.
Yeah, I don't. They just got a new Bushi coming in next cycle that
Hmm.
they spoiled. that when you reveal cards from your opponent's hand, you can look at the top 2 cards and draw one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think this is like worth it in that instance.
Well, it's trying to prop up the Katsuki stronghold, which ostensibly, looking or naming a card and doing all that stuff, but it's just this sub theme is not working for Dragon.
No. And what's unfortunate is the next card ties into that sub theme, which makes it also a trash card. It is a Shrewd Investigator, 1 Fate, 0 Military, 1 Political, 2 Glory, Courtier. Action: during a conflict in which this character is participating, look at X random cards in your opponent's hand. X is equal to the number of face-down provinces you control. So
you play this one first, right? And then, if they do flip something up, then you're looking all the time.
Well, it's just like, okay, so in an ideal world, you buy this turn 1, and you are first player, right? So you attack political with them. Hope to gods you have a court games or something to make it like a meaningful conflict. And you can look at 5 random cards in your opponent's hand. Because you're first player, you're not playing any Eminence, and hope to god you're not playing against Crane.
So you're probably looking at 5 out of 10 cards because your opponent is bidding 5.
5 out of 9.
5 out of 9.
Okay. So now you know 5 cards in hand. And then when they swing back, you have Kiari to maybe discard a card.
There's just something missing out of this sub theme, and it's like
meaning is missing from the sub theme.
The swings keep happening, like things keep happening, like the attempt keeps happening of making this thing matter, and it's just not mattering. And maybe there's just some saturation point. I mean, we may have said this before, but in a cycle, sometimes you only need 3 or 4 cards
to
suddenly turn on a theme, like Commander or Battlefield.
We have not seen, and there are none in this cycle, that will make this meaningful.
Sure.
Like, if you want a meaningful card that does this kind of crap, you need just a repeatable, basically free ability to look at a card in hand. Even if it's just 1 card.
Right.
Then you need a card that matters on provinces either being revealed or being turned face down.
Mm-hmm.
And changing how many cards you can look at in a hand is not meaningful enough.
Yeah.
You need something like, hey, when this province is turned face down, put a fate on a character.
Yeah.
Or gain 2 honor when this province gets turned face down.
Yeah, both of those would be alright.
Yeah. And that way, like, all of a sudden it's like, hey, Dragon likes towering. If they have a card that says turn a province face down, put a fate on the character. Sure, why not? But as it is, like, this theme does nothing. It's just awful. And I feel bad for Dragon.
Yeah. At least this next one is kind of a good mantra.
It's good because it ends this fucking cycle of cards. The next card is Mantra of Void. It is a 0-cost event. Kiho and Void with 2 influence. Reaction: after an opponent declares a Void conflict, choose a monk character or a character with a monk attachment. Until the end of the conflict, reduce the cost to play attachments on that character by 1. Draw 1 card.
I mean, in terms of Void, your opponent swinging Void, it's fairly reliable.
Sure. It's not like the Mantra of Water, which is far less reliable.
I wonder if this gets better just for you're drawing a card, so you're not losing tempo in playing it. And
sure.
Then on top of that, we're starting to see Maho attachments that are costing like 1. We just
Oh, that's actually fair. And
yeah, we're seeing that crab attachment, right?
also the Nova Unicorn one.
Yeah, that one too. I'm thinking of one that's like Tetsubo of Blood or whatever.
Oh yeah. You
So
know what's
these one cost attachments that normally cost Maho becoming free out of your hand,
that's actually a
and
good
then
point.
normal one cost attachments that normally are pretty good. Um,
So it, yeah, I guess, and actually that would tie in nicely with um, Iron Mountain Castle,
yeah,
because then you can hold an extra. I actually like that. That that thought had not occurred to me, and that makes the card better in my mind. I don't think it's still playable, but
the thing that makes it maybe playable is the fact that your opponent is going to go void pretty often.
yes.
So like this becomes out of most mantras. I think this is probably if you were going to see one that had a tangible effect like this.
Yeah.
Plus Maho makes it.
Yeah.
We'll see what the next cycle brings, but
So
maybe it gets revisited.
I definitely think. Well, I'm glad this cycle's over because they've been like most of the mantras have been lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the Earth one could have been good if its effect was better,
Right.
but I don't think its effect is good enough. And Earth is like the most reliable ring. Um, so hopefully this cycle completing, Dragon can start getting some better cards.
Yeah. It's just an unfortunate set for them.
Yeah. I also have some issues that uh, the mantras are all split across different cycles.
Yeah, so they'll cycle at different ways or different times.
Yeah, like I really wish all of these had come out in the same cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That way, that's just a completeness thing for me. And I'm going to say the exact same thing when we get to the clan sword in this cycle. But yeah, no, I think this card would be definitely worth a revisit once Maho becomes a thing.
I mean, yeah, and not to jump ahead too, we'll get to it. I'll talk about it when we get to Shiori.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, I was gonna say there are also neutral monk attachments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you don't have to eat up if you were to splash this for some psychotic reason. You don't have to eat up your entire influence allotment on this card plus monk attachments.
Right.
So, okay, on to what I consider the winners of the cycle.
Yep.
Lion Clan. They get a 1 fate battlefield attachment that attaches to an unbroken province, makeshift Warcrane. During conflicts at the attached province, each participating character you control gets +2 military. I think you see this a whole bunch in more swarm-oriented decks, because then you are basically playing one fate for between 8 and more than 8 military buff.
Yeah, I mean unicorn decks splash this, swarm especially, and I've seen this thing give 20 military. Like 10 characters, just bam.
Yeah. Go. No, it's good. If you run logistics, well, you can't save it with logistics because that'll probably make you lose it. So it's not a card that logistics really interacts with all that well, unless you're playing it on defense. That would be funny. Mm-hmm. But no, this is a strong card for an archetype that Lion was already decent at, I think. That they don't need to run because their other shit is better.
Yep. Yeah, Lion could absolutely do Swarm just fine.
Yep.
But yeah, they don't really need to.
Onto their clan sword. I mean, like it's It's a boring stat boost on Makeshift War Camp, so there's not really a whole lot to say to it.
Sure. I mean, it's like
the math
it's
is
like
simple. You put a bunch of guys there and you play this card, and you get 2x military.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be a broken record this entire cycle, but I mean, you compare this with stuff that we get in Unicorn, where it's like, hey, if you move a guy in, that guy gets +2.
Yeah, that probably should.
Like,
this probably should have been a Unicorn card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, on to the Clan Sword. I'll go ahead and preemptively say before I read anything, it sucks that all the Clan Swords are coming out at different times, so they'll never be in the game at the same time, assuming rotation happens.
And what I was going to say was, I believe it should be that Clan Swords should be evergreen. They should be excluded from rotation. I think that would be really cool, but it'll never happen.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Shiori. It is a 2 fate, +4/+1 weapon. So them some big numbers. I think these are probably the biggest numbers you get off of an attachment.
Yeah.
Attached to a unique lion character, they have plenty. It is ancestral and restricted, and if the attached character has a champion trait it gains, you may declare an additional military conflict each phase.
Wild.
It is good. Lion can run 2 champions in the same deck, right? It's got Toturi and Suko.
Yeah, I mean, you could run neutral Toturi as well, but that doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't.
I mean, more champion keywords, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, but you still have to have you still have to have no more than 3 Toturis in your deck.
That's right. Never mind.
So, like, it's a good ability. It's blanket. It's the other Clan Swords that we've seen have been Cranes, which is switched conflict type, and Phoenixes, which is send a character home.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first one we've seen with passive text.
Yeah, I mean, the triggering condition is be a champion.
Yeah. So I just think that they are. I think the Clan Swords will never really see play, except maybe Dragons, because they don't have a lot of champions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's attachment hate is saturated enough in the game that you could make this fall off.
That's true
before they declare the conflict. So, yeah. I mean, the stats are good if you needed to drop it in, and even then, Lion has some ways to cheat in attachments. So,
yeah.
But even then, I don't think it's enough.
I did build a really dumb deck that was a Lion deck that ran Stoke Insurrection and Suffer the Consequences.
Mm-hmm.
The idea being, I stoke your characters, I sack your characters for an extra political conflict, and I also ran Shiori, which meant if I threw Sashimono on Suko or Toturi, that's 2 military conflicts that I get from just Shiori. Then I go political with them, and then I use Hyaku no Shiro to straighten the cheap Bushi to in service to my lord for a 4th political conflict.
Ugh. Yeah, that does sound like a crawl deck.
Yeah, doesn't it? It was relentless. Like I just keep walking forward. I don't care if I win or lose.
Yeah, it's fine. We're just gonna keep having conflict.
Yeah. Eventually you'll run out of resources, and then I'll just keep walking forward. But it's a stupid deck. It doesn't work that well. The next card is, in my mind, a highly contentious card. Master Tactician. It is 5 fate for a 5/5/3 glory Bushi commander. And during conflicts in which this character is participating, if there is a battlefield in play, you may look at it and play the top card of your conflict deck as if it were in your hand. Pardon me. You cannot play more than 3 cards per round in this way.
When this card got spoiled, I just stared at it for a while.
Yeah, there's
I just stared at it.
there's a lot in my mind wrong with this card.
Stat line, I was like, you're getting a 5 for a 5/5. He
So,
has relevant keywords.
assuming that current lore matches old lore, Togashi Yokuni is a god.
Yeah.
That's why he's got like the biggest balance stats in the game.
Mm-hmm.
This character, who's not unique, is just really good at being a tactician. Has the same stats as a god, including glory. He is as glorious as a god.
Man, I don't. So there's so much to talk about with this card. You honor it because of the commander keyword quite easily.
Yep.
Making it an 8/8.
Prepare for war. So Descent, like the only a means to keep it in check is irrelevant.
It came about at a time in which Lion Tower was still going on and was still very strong, and then you're like, oh look, the perfect Lion Tower.
Yes.
It's non-unique, like you said, so you could feasibly. I mean, I don't know feasibly, but technically you could have multiple in play and do it over and over again.
Well, see, that's the dumb thing, right? Lion can cheat characters into play very easily. Spirit Caller and Forebear's Echoes. And because of how the rules have shook out for this, each copy of Master Tactician lets you play 3 cards.
And the thing about it is, it's not. I don't even know if this is necessarily run all that often anymore.
It isn't. Like that's like the horrendously offensive part about this. This card is super good. I don't think there's a clan that this wouldn't be busted in.
The thing is that Tyler did it right in making it non-unique, as weird as that is, because if it was unique, then it would enable In Service to My Lord, which would make this even worse. The fact that it is a non-unique actually makes it less playable in a Lion Tower meta kind of way.
I mean, I think that's the only reason why it's not seeing play is because Lion has moved away from the tower.
Right.
I think this card probably even has a home in the Honor Run deck, just because it lets you see more cards.
Yeah.
But I think it's a testament that this card is so pushed that
in a cycle of Lion pushed cards, this does not make the grade.
Yeah, this isn't good enough to see play in like a standard Lion deck. Because Tactical Ingenuity offsets this card. Because if you hit a dead card, well, you just trigger Tactical Ingenuity, look at the top 4, pick one, and then shuffle it again, and then you can peek at the top one again. I would probably feel better if this was like a 3/3 for 5.
Yeah, I'd even say a 4/4 is fine, but yeah, it's just
there's too much good with this card, and Lion is even running it. Yeah. The next card. So if we had done this pack review 3 months ago, we would probably go on and on about how innocuous the card looks. It has Rally. It's 0 cost. It's lost papers. Reaction: after this card is revealed in a province, choose a character with the most fate on it among characters in play and battle that character. Seems pretty innocuous. Rally means it was going to be everywhere, because this is literally the freest Rally card in the game.
I don't know, man. People were sounding the alarm on this thing the second people saw it.
Yes. But there were also people that were like, man, this is meh. I was one of those people. I was wrong. This card wound up being so fucking horrendous, it got banned.
It was so. In terms of, I completely did not play while Lost Papers was in circulation. Uh, was it the fact that you could choose a character that had 0 fate on it?
So that was the explained reason. Was this was designed as an anti-tower card, um, but more often than not, it was hitting characters with 0 and 1 fate.
Right.
Um, so while it was still functioning-ish against the towers, it was also impacting non-tower decks. The fact that it is 0 cost, it has rally, and it's a reaction,
right,
means there's 0 cost associated with this card.
Yeah, it's not even taking up your action window.
Yeah, it's not taking up the action window, it's not taking up a dynasty flip, and it's not taking up any fate. So if it shows up at a bad time, oh well, you just play the card that's on top of it. So this card is banned, and it needs to be, because it turned the game into a coin toss.
Yeah, even just RLing it wouldn't have been enough.
No. Well, I mean, RLing it would have been soft banning it, because I don't think you take this as your RL card for anyone. Well, no, maybe there are some clans, because there's still some clans building decks without real RL cards.
I mean, Unicorn really doesn't have like a absolute RL. I mean, sometimes it's keeper initiates, but you know.
Man, if this was a purple card.
Yeah.
Like, it's thematic, because Unicorn was supposed to be kind of like the state troopers of the Rokugan.
Mm-hmm.
You tend not to fate your characters.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been fine, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of cards to cycle that would have been fine purple, it turns out.
Yeah. But this card is banned, so moving on.
Yep.
So next one is Courteous Greeting. It is a 4-strength Earth Province. Action during a conflict at an Earth Province, choose an attacking character and a defending character, bow those characters. Really good. Like, this is probably the first neutral Earth Province that is a legitimate choice instead of upholding authority.
Yeah, and it has to be, right, in order to see play.
Yeah.
And I think it is very playable. So.
Yeah, no, it sees play. It's a strong effect. There are a number of stands in the game, but those are not an infinite resource, despite seeming so. Like, this card makes Seeker of Earth a valid choice.
Yeah, I could see it.
It's a
hey,
winner.
Carl, can I ask you a question real quick?
Absolutely.
Is there any way for you to pause the recording and come back to it? Or if you stop the recording, does it just stop and then you have to kind of edit together?
I'd have to edit together.
All right. I wanted to step away for a second, but if that's not possible, then that's okay.
Oh, no, go ahead, step away. I'll just trim the section. I'll keep it recording.
Okay. I will be right back.
Okay. Dead silence. I'm probably not going to trim the recording. You just get to listen to me ramble on about whatever crosses my mind. Yeah, I actually do think Lost Papers would have been perfectly acceptable if it was a Unicorn card. It would have been thematic. It wouldn't have been everywhere. I forget who it was that actually put the collected data on the Clan Wars. And I think when this card was legal, every clan was running it as a 3 of. And a card's that level of ubiquity in a card is often indicative that it's a problem. There's always neutral cards that are basically 3 ofs in like almost every deck, like Bonsai and Court Games and the Fantanas. Um, and while you could make cases for some of those cards being too good at what they do, they aren't so good that they have to be addressed in a banned restricted list. Whereas Lost Paper's effect on the game was just so monumental that it needed to be addressed because it was everywhere, much like Policy Debate.
Okay.
So I've been rambling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because fuck it, I don't want to do any editing. That takes time. I don't want to do
Okay.
time. So I was just rambling about Lost Papers being a unicorn card. And
what did you arrive at? What conclusion did you arrive
well,
at?
no, so that it would have been fine, but like its ubiquity is one of the reasons why it got banned.
Yeah, I want to say the stats were like 90+%.
That's like 97, 98%.
Yeah.
Or running it as a 3 of, and I think only one person was running it as a 2 of.
Neutral was just not the right.
But choice. I was going to say that like that's the reason why Policy Debate got banned, is because it was everywhere. And Dragon's shitty theme at looking at hands becomes viable if you have Policy Debate.
Yeah, and then now that's gone. I hadn't even thought about that.
Because like, so you play Policy Debate, you win, you get to look at their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So now Kiari can be like, hey, I know what's in your hand. And since I just made you discard a card off Policy Debate, and probably the Earth Ring, picking 4 cards isn't so bad.
Yeah.
And the hand knowledge from Policy Debate would also tie into Shiro Katsuki.
Yeah, that kind of makes one card makes the whole thing fall apart.
Yeah. Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it goes both ways.
Yep. Okay, on to the Phoenix cards, because Courteous Greeting is a solid Earth province. Seeker of Earth becomes a viable choice now that there's this and Upholding or an in-clan Earth province. Studious. 0 fate cost, 0 military, 1 political condition. Attached to a scholar character. Attached character gains sincerity and reaction after this character wins a conflict. Draw a card.
So I haven't really seen a lot of Phoenix stuff lately. Is this something they run?
Not typically. The times I've seen it is in kind of a pacifist deck. Because that tends to run a lot of scholars. The more prevalent Phoenix deck, while it does run the next scholar, Studious doesn't do enough for it.
Yeah.
Like, I like the card effect. I like the theme of this card.
So
like it's very thematically solid.
I'm gonna go into imaginary land here. If this thing had ancestral, absolute play.
At 0 fate cost, absolutely.
Yeah, too strong.
Because if it has ancestral, it's guaranteed to replace itself.
Right.
Because it gives the character sincerity. And every win off that character is a card draw.
Yeah, it's too strong. It may be 1 fate plus ancestral.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just curious, because I mean, it would fit the theme and the lore, right? Like obviously a scholar is going to be studious.
Yeah.
So making it.
Actually, it might be interesting to take a gander at if they have unofficially limited ancestral to things.
Oh yeah, it's not on a lot of stuff.
Well, no, like if it's just limited to things.
Instead of conditions.
Instead of conditions or techniques.
Sure.
Like
probably.
I wonder if that's some like unofficial design decision that they're standing by.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, that'd be a neat thing.
If Kitsuki's method is ancestral, then that might be the only one. But I'll check.
Is that a condition though?
That's what I'm gonna say.
Or is it? That's a technique.
So Kitsuki's method is a technique that has ancestral on it.
Okay.
So it is at least on techniques, maybe not conditions. Which that's also lore appropriate.
Yeah, I mean it's like
Teaching the method of Kitsuki
yeah,
is an ancestral thing.
it's not a thing that just disappears when the person who does it dies because
Sure.
it's been passed on.
Sorry,
Anyways,
just a tangent there.
yeah, no. But yeah, I like Studious. I like the theme of the card. I like everything about it. I just don't think it's enough to see play. Um, and that might just be because of scholar saturation.
Yeah.
There might not be enough playable ones to make a deck because right now it's Naive Scholar and Student of the Tau. No, not Naive Scholar. I actually haven't seen him in a while. Um, Solemn Scholar.
Yeah.
Um, I think those are the played scholars. So there may not just be enough like highly playable scholars. The next card though sees a bunch of play.
Yeah.
Student of the Tau. It is 3 fate, 1 military, 2 political, 3 glory. Shugenja Void Scholar. It has the rally keyword, so that's a thing. And it has the action during a conflict at a Void province. Choose a character you do not control. Move that character home.
Pretty good.
Super good in Seeker of Void.
Relevant traits. Good glory. Rally. Yeah.
Yep. Because Phoenix, I believe their Seeker of Void row is City, Kurimori, and then either Shameful or Weight of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then Senpuku Saido is the other row province.
Uh-huh.
And you're basically fucked running at that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, you have no way to win any of those conflicts, especially if the Student of Tao's on the board. Because the Sendo mobility is super strong, because you don't have to be participating.
Yeah.
It's a strong card.
We've gone back and forth when we come across rally cards of is this an appropriate thing to have rally? And I think this is right on the edge. It's almost too much.
I think this is on this is probably the closest to the line we've seen. But I still think it's on the wrong side of the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is this is a again, like if you're a Phoenix player, you kind of have to buy this pack.
Yeah.
If you just because this card is so good, this just for this card, it's worth it. The next card is super strong, and nobody plays it, and I think that's because of the lack of playable scholars. It is 2 fate, Study of the Natural World. Action during a conflict in which you control an attacking scholar character. The contested ring gains each of the attacked province's elements. If you win the conflict, you may resolve each of the contested ring's effects.
So it's me and you. So we'll go into Janktown immediately.
Yeah.
And talk about how this affects the Scorpion province. If you attack.
If you attack Toshirambo.
If you attack Toshirambo with this card and a scholar, then you get to have 5 ring effects.
You get 6 ring effects.
Oh yeah, because you get the one that you
yes, because of how the timing works, and this actually irritates me quite a bit. You resolve the ring effects on winning the conflict.
Mm.
It doesn't replace the ring resolution step that would normally happen. So as soon as you win the conflict, you resolve whatever ring effects you get to, which include the ring's normal effects and the province's elements. Then you break, then you do all the other steps, and then you resolve the ring again.
Right.
But at that point, you also get to choose which ring effect you resolve. So say, like, you attack Earth Ring at, I don't know, Meditations on the Tau. Whatever. If you win there and play this card, when you win, you get the Earth Ring and the Fire Ring. Because you win Earth, and it's got fire from the province.
Right.
Then when you get to the resolution, or ring resolution step, you're still during the conflict. Oh wait, hang on. Yeah, and it's passive gain, so you would still. You now get to choose to resolve. Oh no, sorry. When you win the conflict, you get Earth and Fire. When you get to the ring resolution, you get to pick Earth or Fire.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if the intent of this card. Obviously, that's not the intent of in terms of the 5 element province, but
now this is
the fact that you have enough imminent provinces that the clans will run their imminence, and then this thing will get you 2 ring activations minimum plus.
Yeah, this was I believe like an attempt to downplay, I guess, eminent provinces, or at least make them have an additional cost, if you will, instead of just having the cost of, hey, you're face up,
Yeah.
and you don't do anything proactive to defend. Now you also can give your opponent extra ring effects.
I think the gulf between a 1-cost event and a 2-cost event in this game is massive in terms of making it playable.
If this cost 1, I think you would absolutely see it everywhere.
Sure, it's too good.
But I believe that 2 fate.
2+.
Yeah, I think that 2 fate is basically forever reserved for display of power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good card. It's a fun card for jank. You can do all kinds of stupid shit with it, like if you attack on the water ring, add a void province, and you play this card, you can technically resolve the void ring to clear fate off of someone to then bow them the ring of water during the resolution phase.
Oh, L5R roll.
Yeah. It's a fun card.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a lot of fun with it, but I don't ever expect to see this like in a competitive setting.
Right.
On to Scorpion. We have a Way with Words. It is a 1 fate +0/+1 water roll only attachment. Attached character gains reaction after his character wins a political conflict. Take 1 honor from your opponent, and it is 2 influence.
I thought this card was going to be everywhere. I thought this card was going to make Scorpion run water.
No, because Scorpion tends not to run lots of attachments.
Right.
And so if this is like the only attachment card you're running, it's going to get nuked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Looking at it before it came out, I was like, well, it's not restricted, so you could have multiples on the same character. It still gives a political buff while only costing 1. But you're right. I mean, it's not.
I think what this card primarily does is help make Dishonor viable in other clans, because it is repeatable honor loss, and not many other clans had access to that.
Mm-hmm. And the influence is reasonable.
Yeah, because if you wanted to, you could run 3 of this, 3 backhanded compliments, and only be at 9 influence.
Wow.
If you run it out of Crab, that gives you access to Watch Commander, and you can build, and now they have Fire and Oil and all these other cards that can throw out Dishonor tokens. It enables a consistent Dishonor deck. So I think this is thematically very much a Scorpion card, but for gameplay purposes, this is a card that is for other clans.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good card. Like it can do a lot. It makes water roll an interesting-ish choice. It makes you start looking at things for it, I guess. I don't know. You probably won't see it that often in Scorpion. The next card was around for a little bit, and it made people kind of play around the Seeker roll. It is Curse Catcher. It is 2 fate for 2 military, 2 political, 1 glory, Shugenja Air. Seeker roll only. interrupt when the effects of a province's triggered ability would initiate. If that province has any face down cards in it, cancel those effects. This card was getting paired with Governor's Spy.
Yeah.
When you were a second player, to basically attack wherever you want with no repercussions, because that's Scorpion's sub-theme is no repercussions. I think that has fallen a little out of favor once Stoke Insurrection came out, because then you're turning cards face up.
Yeah.
But this is a solid card if you don't want to deal with provinces.
Yeah, I mean, stat line's good. Honor or the glory's not too bad. Yeah.
Well, Glory and Scorpion's kind of weird. Because very frequently our characters are dishonored.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I see a character with Glory, the way I do the math in my head is its stats are actually that much lower.
It's a 1/1.
Yeah. But even as a 1/1, its ability doesn't require participation.
Mm-hmm.
It makes pokes far less dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So, good card. If Scorpion ever goes back to a Seeker deck, I think this card definitely is an automatic include that may get cut if necessary. But it's definitely like a standard starting point.
Yeah.
Next is Scorpion's Eminent Province, Silent One's Monastery. It is 5 province strength, air, and water. Each opponent cannot gain more than 2 honor each phase.
Carl, why does this have 5 province strength?
Because fuck you, that's why? I don't know.
I figured.
If I was gonna assume a mechanical reason, this is one of the few eminent provinces that does absolutely nothing to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
So Ninkatoshi is 4 strength, right? It's Lion's Eminent Province. It's 4 strength and doesn't actively protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix's is Kakudaira, which is 5 strength,
mm-hmm.
and doesn't proactively do anything to defend itself. Unicorns lets you buy the character on there.
Yep.
So you can, arguably, the character you purchased there during conflict phase protects it. Suma gives you an honored body.
Yeah.
So
that's 3.
That makes protecting it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Dragons is bad because dragon.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay 1 fate to attack anywhere but there, which actively makes it a target. So arguably, it should have had a higher province strength than 3.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I think if that one was a 5, it might be worth a discussion to play.
Sure.
But yes, I think if I was gonna logic out a reason as to why Scorpion has a 5 strength eminent province, it's because this one actively does nothing to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
It provides resources in other ways, but that's why. It doesn't.
Okay. And this affects bids. I'm trying to think of all what this affects. This affects bids, duels.
Yeah, anything involving the bid dial. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely hilarious to go up against a dueling deck if Silent One's Monastery is turned on. Because the first duel, you just bid 5, give them the honor, doesn't matter. And then afterwards, you can continue to bid 5 into the duels.
Because I can no longer.
Because they can't gain any more honor, so you can't lose any more honor. But they're encouraged to not bid 5 or bid high, because if you bid 1, they can still lose all that honor.
Right.
This card basically makes Scorpion bid 5 forever because of how the rules shook out for it. The exchange of honor is considered a gain, so since your opponent can't gain more than 2, you can't lose more than 2
Right.
in an exchange like that. Out of any of the Scorpion boxes, this is fine. It's just extra toxic in City of the Open Hand.
Yeah.
Because City basically says, or this combined with City basically says, sorry, you can only gain 1 honor per phase.
Right.
Doesn't that suck for you? Out of KB, out of 7 Stings Keep, this is fine. But once again, it's another Scorpion card that is, I feel, legitimately fine, but has a toxic interaction with City of the Open Hand.
Yeah.
And if anyone is wondering why it has the Fantasy Flight logo instead of the art, this was a card that Noah Bradley did the art for, and he was involved in some legal issues that I'm not 100% clear what they are. So I'm not going to speculate, but any card that he did the art for, Fantasy Flight has basically scrubbed from their online card database.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering that myself. I was like, this card art is definitely available.
Yeah, it is. Like, you buy the cards, you get the art, but for online purposes, any card that has Noah Bradley art is going to have the Fantasy Flight logo. And I legit don't know what he did to cause that.
Sure.
But clearly he did something.
Interesting.
And this goes back even to like core set cards. Like I think Borderlands Defender is another one. We'll just take a quick little side tangent.
Sure.
Nope, not Borderlands Defender. Borderlands Fortifications. Yeah, Borderlands Fortifications.
Huh.
Has that too. So if you're ever looking at cards online and you see that he did something bad, and as a result, Fantasy Flight scrubbed his art from the game.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Solomon's Monastery, like if you play Scorpion, if you're going to play Dishonor, definitely a pack to look at.
Yeah, I mean the rolls are.
Oh yeah, the elemental rolls in this are great. Scorpion does not give a shit about its water province.
Right.
The air province is forever and always going to be secret cache. But the water provinces have typically been lackluster for Scorpion in general. So onto the unicorn cards. And this week it's not just a sad trombone noise for 10 minutes.
Is it? Is it not?
I mean, Hunting Falcon gets played.
Hunting Falcon sees play. That is correct.
So, it's only going to be 5 minutes of sad trombone noises for Scholar of Old Renpet.
Yeah, I mean, last pack we had 3 cards, so it was 5 minutes of sad trombone each. So we only have 2 this time.
Yeah,
so
and one of them's played, so it's okay. Yeah. Hunting Falcon is a 0-cost attachment, +1/+0. It is a creature, and after this attachment enters play, choose a face-down province. Look at that province. Yeah. Aiuchi Wayfinder was a staple splash card and staple in Unicorn for basically visibility.
Yep.
This is a free version that gives you a stat boost.
Yeah, and the important thing about the wording of this card is it's not an action. It is when it enters play, so there's no canceling it or letting it go before you're able to peek. So that really helps it. And then the fact that it has a stat attached to it for free, not restricted.
Yep.
So it's just playable, and it's one influence, so other clans can.
Yeah, basically, if you're gonna splash Unicorn for something like Talisman or whatever, and you find yourself with some leftover influence points, this is a great choice.
Yeah, totally reasonable.
Does this get a lot of play in Unicorn?
Yeah, it still sees a lot of play.
Okay, so hey.
Peeking, and like I said, the fact that it's as it enters play, so that, your opponent can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Helpful.
So yeah, no, this is definitely a solid card. I think. Like I said, if you're splashing Unicorn and you have leftover slots and leftover influence, you might as well throw this on there.
Sure. I mean, there's still people running Border Fortress and stuff like that. So being able to peak for free, and then if they hit your Border Fortress, or if you make them go there,
Yeah.
flipping up one of their provinces at a not ideal time to where it either fizzles and does nothing, or just to know where you're going. Like it's pretty versatile.
And while this doesn't currently matter, I I can envision a world where it does. You can look at your own face down provinces.
Oh, like if your provinces got shuffled around or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or if there's a card, if for some reason Dragon's something becomes peaking at face down provinces without, I don't know, like you can look at your own provinces.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that it lets you do that.
I wonder if that's actually a legal trigger for it, because technically it's not changing.
You can do it at any time anyway.
Well,
so you're not changing the game state.
Yeah.
Right.
I might ask that just as a curiosity thing, but either way, moving on. Like it's a solid card.
Yeah. Solid card in a set with not too many. So.
Yes. Next is, I guess, the beginning of the sad trombone noises.
Mm-hmm.
Scholar of Old Renpet.
Mm-hmm.
1 fate, 1 military, 0 political, 1 glory. Shugenja Water Scholar. It's got rally, so it's got something going for it. During a conflict, lose 1 honor. Choose a non-unique character. That character is immune to events until the end of the conflict.
Okay. Start rant. Where do I want to start with this?
I yield the floor.
It's like you have to choose a non-unique, which is also a sub-theme of Unicorn for some reason. But when you trigger this ability, it costs you an honor. Not great. And then on top of that, it is immune to all events. It is not just immune to your opponent's events. I can't play anything on the character I've chosen.
Okay.
Also. So it goes both ways. So if I choose my character and make it immune, I also can't bonsai it. I can't do anything to it past that point because it is now immune to events. My own events. Which is not great. Maybe someday Shugenja will matter more for us.
Is there a world, and I will gladly concede that this is a far off, like fantasy worlds, where you play Scholar of Old Renpet, you make your Miname Kaze regulars, whatever big non-unique stat stick that you have access to, immune to events, and then you play Unleash the Jin.
Interesting. So mine stays.
So your dude stays at what he's at. So you pre-bonsai, you throw all the swords on him you want.
Well, at that point, you've cost me 4 honor. Because it costs me 1 honor to use the ability.
I mean, even
you said isn't it possible in the sub if I've got 4 honor to burn.
Even if you don't do the bonsai, right?
Oh, I'm not even talking bonsai. I'm talking Jin.
Jin
plus this card.
Isn't Jin 2?
It's 3. You lose 3 honor to do Jin.
Oh fuck. Okay, I thought it was 2.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, so you lose 1 honor for triggering it, and then 3 for the Jin. But yes, it's immune to events. It's a blanket event, but I think that still makes it immune. It's a good question. It's a good rules question to ask.
Like, because that way, your big dude stays big. Their big dudes get small.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to take an already questionable idea and go further down this rabbit hole.
Why not?
It's a scholar.
Yeah, I could put Studious on it.
You could take Study of a Natural World.
Mm-hmm. I could give it Sincerity, and I draw a card when it wins conflict.
Do Unicorn have any scholars besides?
I think that might be our first one. Sadia may be a scholar.
Are we building a super shitty deck right now? I think we might be.
We're
Yes.
talking about one for lieu of anything worthwhile to talk
I
about
mean,
with this.
this is where we are with sad trombone noises. Yes, Sadia Almozedu
Yep,
is a scholar
sincerity, sure.
with sincerity.
It's so bad. Um, you're jumping through multiple hoops, and the fact that it's universal, um, turning off your own events is just so bad.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other blanket events
I think
that. Ooh, wait, hang on.
thinking of like Maho.
Hang on, no, not Maho. It was last cycle. Uh, Inheritance.
Also, this while you're looking this up, I'm going to say that this card should have Gaijin on it because you're literally studying Burning Sands stuff. You're studying Burning Sands stuff. Just give it Gaijin.
There was it not that one?
Yeah, what
Fuck.
are you thinking of?
There's some card that moves everyone home.
And then moves them back.
Yes. It's
Oh
not. It's not.
man,
It's not Warriors of the Wind.
Warriors of the Wind moves everybody home. Well, they have to have Cav, which he
Yes.
doesn't have.
But there's some card. Jesus Christ! That is 3 honor. Did it just can't come out? Hang on. We're gonna peek ahead a little bit. Fuck. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah, I'm curious what you're thinking about.
Maybe it's not a unicorn card.
What's the effect?
Like everyone goes home.
And doesn't come back.
Yes. And then you can reassign people.
I mean, as far as I know, that's Warriors of the Wind is the closest thing that you're talking about, but that requires Cav.
No, it's Cav. There's one that affects both players. Oh my god.
Is it Lion?
Uh, no, I could have sworn it was fucking unicorn.
So what is the effect that you're thinking about? I mean, if you know what the card does, like just tell me your thought process, like using that.
Well,
Plus,
so it basically everyone goes home. Diversionary maneuver.
Ah,
During a conflict in which you have an attacking player, choose an eligible province not currently being attacked. Bow and move home each participating character. Move a conflict to a chosen province and reveal it if able.
you're thinking you're attacking two provinces because they're immune to the event, therefore they don't go home. And
They stay there.
I mean, depending on the ruling on blanket events and that card, I mean, it's definitely.
So basically,
well, you're not even doing it to her. You can do it to any non-unique. So,
right.
Like you're saying, like if you did it to Manami and Kazi regulars to make them stay there,
so
everybody else then moves somewhere else.
So you've both traded cards back and forth, right? So their guys are buffed, your guys are buffed. You play this card. With the exception of the person you've made immune to events, everyone else goes home.
I'll ask Unicorn Chat after this because now I'm curious.
And then you reassign people, but you've kept your biggest buff person there because they're immune to the event.
Move the conflict to the chest. Feel it if they will move any number of ready characters you control to the conflict, and your opponent does so as well.
Yeah, but the important part is the character you pick is immune, so they can't be bowed and moved home.
I wonder if that would work. How weird. That might be the best use case I've ever heard with pet. You know, when I first saw this card, I thought it was going to be decent. I mean,
what diversionary
maneuver? One cost. Yeah, it doesn't have the traits I want, but it's a one cost. It has rally, even if I don't play it, it's not that bad.
Oh, you're talking about the scholar?
Yeah, I'm talking about scholar. And then once I read that it was both Seth's of players' immunity, then I was
Yeah,
like,
I think not that at
and
all.
the non-unique stuff is also a problem. But
Yeah, not that what we've thrown together, because there's a lack of shit to talk about for unicorn cards,
no, not at all.
is like a good idea, but it might be an idea worth exploring and seeing what other blanket symmetrical effects there are.
Nimble Noyon. So Nimble Noyon is a non-unique. Keeping them
It's
there if you have
it's
stuff.
oh yeah.
I'm building on your idea. So if the non-unique you choose is Nimble Noyon and it's already there, then he also gets everybody bowed at home while you've moved everybody ready, which then they contribute their value both provinces at the same time.
Like I wonder whatever like is it a filter for symmetrical events? No,
No. Can you look
but
up Nimble Noyon real quick to make sure I'm not crazy?
that's while he's dire and participating, bowed characters contribute.
Right. So but they would contribute to both provinces.
No, this doesn't. This doesn't. You're not attacking both provinces with diversionary tactics.
Why not?
Well, because it says you move the conflict to another province.
What happens to the character that you? Well, then what are you saying in terms of what you've done to the character then? Because I thought you were saying you're attacking both provinces at
No,
the
no, no,
same
no.
time.
I'm saying like you've traded cards and you've got one buffed guy and they've got
Mm-hmm.
one buffed guy and your character's immune to events, so you play diversionary maneuvers. Their buffed guy goes home bowed. Everyone but your buffed guy on your side goes home bowed, and then you can reassign people.
Ah, I see.
So you're basically negating all the cards they've played.
Yeah, because it's declared that this is the new conflict, so my idea wouldn't work.
Yeah. But I wonder what other blanket effects there are in the game.
There's that new crab maho that bows everybody of less military.
Dishonor a friendly, bow each character. Yeah, so you could Darkness Rising, you could in theory make one of your guys immune to the bow effect of this.
Right.
So you dishonor your biggest guy, but then you get to keep two guys that are up.
Right, versus their prop. If you're playing this, you're probably bowing everybody possible.
Yeah. Huh. I might poke around and see what other blanket, this affects everyone.
So here's a question. While we're brainstorming like this, if I were to make my character immune to events, and I played a Maho event, I could not pull Fate off of that character.
So that, I believe, would depend entirely on how specific or how Scholar is worded.
I'm sure if we talked to a Crane and asked them about event immunity, they'd be able to tell us.
Is immune to events. I believe the answer to that is yes. Events cannot do anything to it, so you can't pull Fate.
Because that's a condition of playing it.
Yes. Interestingly enough, this can also target your opponent's characters.
Right.
So, if you know Maho's coming, you don't even have to choose a participating character.
Just a non-unique. But it's only until the end of the conflict.
Right.
So it's not till the end of the phase. But
correct.
Yeah.
But depending on what Maho effects are coming.
Yeah.
It, shutting off.
Yeah, like let's say they only have one guy on the board with 2 Fate. And
right.
on the body, and you're like, well, I don't want them to play this Maho event, so I'll make it immune, and then they can't play Darkness Rising because they only have one guy with 2 Fate on it. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm just going to scroll through cards, and that's not entertaining for anyone.
Well, I was thinking, when I'd completely forgotten that, but when I originally saw that card, I was thinking like the train attachment that makes them immune to events. I was like, oh, it's just like
Oh,
I could.
above question.
Yeah, it's like an above question on their body.
This could be interesting. The first time anyone's ever said that about Impossible Koan.
At each character's base.
To 1.
Except your guy.
Yes.
It's only costing you
3 fate.
3 fate. It's an honor.
I mean, here's a really dumb question. This card sets your opponent's stats lower than Unleash the Djinn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not roll locked, and you're trading the 3 fate or you're trading the 3 honor cost for 3 fate.
So you play Djinn first, then this?
No, you don't play Djinn at all, or you run both for maximum stupid. Right, so you can either pay 3 fate to set them to 1/1, or pay 3 honor to set them to 3/3.
Yeah.
And then your guy's still immune.
The problem is you've got to keep this. You've got to either fate the 1 cost to make sure that it's around a while. I don't know. But yeah, Jank Town is where we're at.
Yeah, and that's probably like a terrible fucking indictment on that card.
Yeah, I had more hope for it when I first saw it. That it would just basically be like an above question or protection when I needed it. But it's getting really frustrating to me when I keep hearing people, when Unicorn complain about cards that we play for ourselves that cost us honor, and the first thing out of everybody's mouth is Yurt. Well, you have Yurt, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't always have it. Like, it's not, 1 card is not the solution to every Unicorn card that costs me honor.
Yeah.
And it's unilateral. So it's like I'm also giving my opponent 2 honor, and that might not be great for me, depending on who I'm going up against.
Like, Yurt is definitely a crutch.
I mean, technically at this point, I think we've seen more crab cards that gain honor for them than what Unicorn have for themselves to just straight up gain an honor. Not gain a honored status token, but
right.
Honor.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But rather than continue scrolling through cards,
well, we end every pack review this way, Carl. It's like we always end up.
I know. We always go, hey, this is a stupid idea. What do we got here?
Ideas here. There's nothing wrong with it. I won't apologize.
I think it's an entertaining idea to.
Can you go back to Crab for a second for the Tetsu? Sorry, I know we just said we're going to stop, but just type in Tetsubo.
Oh, for the Tetsubo blood?
Just any. I just want to look at a couple Tetsubos in terms of, like, if I can make myself immune.
Oh, that's only 2 events.
Events, yeah.
And Tetsubo, it just won't let me do a search for Tetsubo. Oh no, there we go. Okay. Yeah, all of these are just immune to events. But, you're right. This is...
Blood being free.
Free off of Mantra of Void.
And depending on what stronghold you run, you can have more restricted attachments on a character.
Yep.
If you've already honored them, then...
That's definitely going to be a thing to play with. Okay, well, I think we are at the end.
We're at the meandering phase.
Yes. So, yeah. So thank you to anyone that's going to make it this far listening to this. Hopefully it's entertaining.
I'm entertained.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that matters, right? So next on the list is Pack 4. Yes, because it's Pack 3, where we'll start seeing some real banger cards come out.
Yep. 4, 5, and 6, man. Like the second half of the cycle is really stacked
It's a little
compared to the
bonkers.
first half.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Have a good one.